Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Learn and Talk, the podcast where we make English learning fun, simple, and part of your daily life. I'm Sarah, and today we have our wonderful guest, Mateo, with us. How are you doing, Mateo?
I'm doing great, Sarah. Excited to be here and also a little curious because today's topic feels very real to me.
Yes, today's episode is one that almost every adult can relate to. The topic is At the Office. Talk about work and jobs in English. We're going to learn how to talk about your job, describe your workplace, and use simple sentences to explain what you do every day at work.
That's perfect, Sarah, because honestly, whenever people ask me, what do you do for a living? I sometimes hesitate. Not because I don't know my job, but because I'm not always sure how to explain it clearly in English.
Exactly. And that's the main reason why we chose this topic. Imagine you're at a party or maybe meeting someone new at a cafe. One of the first questions people ask is, "So, what do you do?" And if you don't have the words to answer, it feels awkward.
Yeah, and it's even more important if you're in a professional setting. Like, let's say you're at an interview or even talking to international colleagues. Being able to confidently describe your job and workplace is a big plus.
So true. That's why today's episode will help you learn the most common job-related vocabulary, practice simple present tense sentences to describe your daily work, understand how to sound more natural when talking about your office or your job.
I like that. Because when you think of office English, many people imagine complicated business terms. But actually, even simple things like, I start work at 9 a.m. or I answer emails in the morning are super useful.
Absolutely. We'll keep it simple and practical. In fact, Mateo, let me ask you this. When you think of the word office, what's the first image that comes to mind?
Honestly, a desk full of papers, a computer screen with too many emails, and that one coworker who always brings donuts.
That's a pretty accurate description. And see, even just with that picture, we already have words we can practice. Desk, computer, emails, coworker, donuts. This is how natural English learning happens, by connecting words to your real life.
That makes sense. I guess today our listeners will be able to create their own office dictionary.
Yes, that's the goal. So stay tuned because in the next part, we'll start with morning routines at the office. What's the first thing people usually say or do when they arrive at work? We'll talk about that and give you the exact phrases you can use. All right, Mateo, let's imagine this. It's Monday morning and you walk into your office. What's the very first thing you usually do?
Honestly, I grab a coffee. Without coffee, I can't even think straight.
I think half the world agrees with you on that. And that's a great sentence to start with. You can say, the first thing I do at the office is grab a coffee. Or even simpler, I drink coffee at the office. See how natural that sounds?
Yeah, and I guess the word grab makes it sound even more real, right? Because grab a coffee is what native speakers say.
Exactly. And that's something important for our listeners. If you want to sound more natural, you can use these small, everyday verbs like I check my emails, I turn on my computer, I say hello to my coworkers. These are simple, present tense sentences that describe daily routines.
That's true. And you know what, Sarah? For me, after coffee, the next thing I do is open my laptop and check my calendar. I could say, I check my schedule for the day.
Perfect. And notice, listeners, Mateo just used two different words, calendar and schedule. Both are useful in an office. You can say, I check my calendar, the dates and appointments. I check my schedule, the list of tasks or meetings for the day.
Yeah, and sometimes I also say, I prepare my to-do list. That makes me feel organized, even if I don't finish all of it.
I think that's so relatable. So for everyone listening, these are really good examples of morning office routines. I arrive at the office at 9 a.m. I grab a coffee. I check my emails. I prepare my to-do list. These are simple, clear sentences that describe what you do in the morning.
You know, Sarah, another common phrase I've heard is I clock in. It's like when employees use a card or a machine to record the time they start work.
Yes, that's very common in the US, especially in companies where you have to record your working hours. So you can say, I clock in at 9 a.m. or I clock out at 5 p.m. That's a very American workplace phrase.
That's interesting, because in my country, we don't always say clock in or clock out, so it's useful to know these cultural differences too.
Exactly. That's why we're doing this episode, to give you not just the grammar, but the real-life expressions people actually use.
So basically, if someone asks me, what do you do when you arrive at the office? I can answer with these small sentences. I grab a coffee, I check my emails, and I prepare my to-do list.
Perfect answer, Mateo, and that's a great way for our listeners to practice as well. Try answering the same question yourself. Think about your own routine and say it out loud in English.
Yes, practice out loud, because if you only think in your head, you might freeze when someone actually asks you.
Exactly. So in the next part, we'll move from morning routines to the main work tasks you do during the day. That's where we'll learn even more useful vocabulary. Okay, Mateo, so we've covered the morning routine. You've grabbed your coffee, checked your emails, and prepared your to-do list. Now let's talk about the real action of the day, your main work tasks. What does a typical day look like for you?
Well, after my morning setup, I usually focus on one or two big tasks. For example, I might say, I work on reports, or I prepare presentations. That's the core of my job.
That's great. And listeners, here's a simple formula you can use. If someone asks, what do you do at work? You can answer with, I work on task. I write documents or emails. I prepare something. For example, I work on financial reports, or I prepare training materials.
Right, and sometimes I just say, I attend meetings, because let's be honest, some days feel like they're only meetings.
Oh yes, that's true in almost every office. So here's some vocabulary for our listeners. I attend meetings. I join a video call. I give a presentation. I take notes. These are all very natural office expressions.
Yeah, and I think the phrase join a video call is especially modern, right? Because nowadays, many companies use Zoom or Teams.
Exactly. And notice we don't say open a video call. We say join a video call or join a meeting. That's the small detail that makes you sound like a native speaker.
That's good to know. Another thing I often say is I reply to emails because honestly, that takes up a big chunk of time.
Yes. And you can also say I respond to clients or I communicate with customers. These are very common office sentences.
So basically, if I describe my day, I could say I work on reports, I attend meetings, and I reply to emails.
Perfect. That's a full sentence in the simple present tense describing your daily work routine. And you know what? For our listeners, this is a great exercise. Write down 3 things you do at work every day, and then practice saying them out loud in English.
Yes, and keep it short and simple. You don't need big, complicated words. Just 3 clear actions.
Exactly. And here's another tip. You can also use time markers to make your sentences more natural. For example, in the morning, I check emails. In the afternoon, I attend meetings. At the end of the day, I write my report. This way, your answer sounds like a complete story of your day.
Oh, that's really helpful because then people don't just know what you do, they also know when you do it.
Yes. So now, listeners, you already have a clear structure to describe your office day. But there's one more angle we should explore. Work is not just about tasks. It's also about people, your coworkers, your boss, your team, and that's what we'll cover in the next part, the human side of office life. So, Mateo, we've talked about your morning routine and your main work tasks. But office life is not just about reports and meetings, right? It's also about the people you work with.
Oh yes, definitely. I think coworkers are a very big part of the work experience. Some days they make your job much easier. Other days, maybe a little harder.
That's true everywhere. So let's give our listeners some useful vocabulary for talking about people at the office. For example, I work with the team. I talk to my boss. I have lunch with my coworkers. I help a colleague. These are all very natural English phrases.
Yes, and I often say, I have a meeting with my manager, or I discuss a project with my coworker. These sentences are short, simple, and very real.
Exactly. And here's an important cultural point for our listeners, especially if you're learning English for an international job. In the US and many Western countries, people often call their boss by their first name.
Really? That's interesting because in some cultures, you always use sir or madame.
Yes, exactly. But in English-speaking offices, it's usually more casual. For example, you don't say, "Good morning, Mr. Johnson." You might just say, "Hi, David."
That feels more friendly.
Yes, but remember, the way you talk to your boss is still polite. You can say, "Could you please check this? I'd like your feedback." Or, "I'll update you by the afternoon." These polite phrases are very important in the workplace.
That's really useful. And with coworkers, it's usually more casual, right? You can say, "Hey, how's your day going?" Or "Want to grab lunch?"
Yes, exactly. In fact, many people say that having lunch with coworkers is one of the best ways to practice English in real life. It's simple, everyday conversation.
That's true. And sometimes at work, you also have to solve problems together. You might say, "Let's fix this issue," or "Let's find a solution."
Yes, and those teamwork phrases are really powerful. Instead of saying, "You must do this," it sounds better to say, "Let's work on this together."
That feels supportive.
Exactly. So listeners, remember, office English is not only about tasks. It's about communication, teamwork, and culture. How you talk to your coworkers and your boss makes a big difference.
Yes, and every culture is a little different, but English gives you the tools to connect with people no matter where you are.
Beautifully said. And now let's move to our final part, a quick recap and a call to action. We'll review the key phrases and give our listeners a small exercise they can try today. All right, Mateo, this was such a fun conversation. We started from the morning at the office, then moved to work tasks, then lunch, afternoon energy, and finally coworkers and office culture. We really covered the whole day at work.
Yes, and we used so many useful English phrases. I think our listeners now have a lot of material to practice.
Exactly. So let's do a quick recap. Listeners, repeat after us if you can. Here are some sentences for the office. I start work at 9 o'clock. I answer emails in the morning. I have lunch with my coworkers. I talk to my boss about a project. I finish work at 5 o'clock.
And don't forget teamwork phrases. Let's fix this issue. Let's work on this together.
Beautiful. Very natural and easy English. And remember, all of this is the simple present tense. We use it for routines, habits, and facts. Like, I work. You eat. They start. But for he, she, it, we add an S. Example, she works. He eats.
Yes, like my boss says, she starts work at 8:30.
Perfect example. Now, let's give our listeners a little challenge. Friends, we want you to write 2 or 3 sentences about your own work or study routine. For example, you can write, I start class at 10 o'clock. I eat lunch at 1 o'clock. Or I work in an office and I talk to my manager. Very simple, but very useful.
Yes, and share your sentences in the comments below. We love reading your routines. It's a great way to practice and also connect with other learners.
And of course, if you enjoyed today's podcast, don't forget to subscribe to Learn and Talk. Give this video a big thumbs up and share it with your friends.
Yes, that helps us so much, and it helps more people learn English in a fun, natural way.
So remember, English is not just grammar in the book. It's conversation. It's your life. And today, we showed you how to talk about work and office life in simple English.
That's right. Thank you, Sarah, and thank you everyone for joining us.
We'll see you in the next episode. Until then, keep practicing, keep learning, and keep talking. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.